On April 6, 1917, Congress voted in favor of joining World War I by declaring war on Germany. This sparked a declaration of war on the Austro-Hungarian Empire on December 7, 1917. While there were differing public opinions, many fighting for neutrality, Woodrow Wilson urged Congress to vote on this matter by stating that the war would make the world safe for democracy, and later that it would be a war to end war. If the Central Powers won, there could have been bad consequences such as Germany's domination. If America stayed neutral and the Allies won, then they may not care about America's interest and our country could be in trouble. Therefore, it was in America's best interest to join the fight. The entry of America into World War I came in April 1917, after 2.5 years of efforts by President Woodrow Wilson to keep the United States neutral. At the beginning of 1917, Germany decided to resume all-out submarine warfare on every commercial ship headed towards Britain, realizing that this decision would almost certainly mean war with the United States. Germany also offered a military alliance to Mexico in the Zimmermann telegram, promising to get California back if they won the war. Publication of that offer outraged Americans at the same time that German subs started sinking American ships in the North Atlantic. President Wilson proposed a 14-point program for world peace, later taken as the basis for peace negotiations at the end of the war, after Congress voted to declare war on Germany on April 6, 1917. This caused the Selective Service Act, a draft for men of a certain age. All of these topics and more relate to either what caused what happened during and
Prior
after
to the
World
war,
War I. America and President Wilson asked Americans to remain impartial towards the war that had just broken out in Europe. The president wanted the U.S. to exemplify the democratic commitment to peace, but the Great War continually challenged our nation's neutrality. The Allies each had their own agenda for dealing with Germany, and it was in this light that the U.S. Senate refused to ratify the treaty and therefore conducted its own peace treaty with Germany in July 1921. The United States' retreat into isolation and refusal to participate in the new League of Nations is a controversy that has been stated as proof of a shallow commitment to upholding democracy abroad. Americans reluctantly entered Europe's World War I and tipped the balance to an Allied victory. Of the many causes that influenced President Wilson and much of the American population, the Zimmermann telegram and the sinking of the Lusitania definitely contributed to the President and Congress's decision to join the war, starting by declaring war on Germany on April 6, 1917. The sinking of the Lusitania ship enraged Americans and hastened the United States' entrance into World War I. It was sunk May 7, 1915, 2 years before we joined the war. Although the ship was not technically U.S. property, Americans were still outraged to learn 128 U.S. civilians were killed in a war in which they were officially neutral. Destroying ships not known to be carrying war materials countered generally accepted international war protocols. The sinking of the Lusitania heightened tensions between the U.S. and Germany and helped sway Americans' opinions in favor of joining the war. Another cause was the 1917 Zimmermann telegram, which was sent from Germany to Mexico by the Foreign Secretary, Arthur Zimmermann, offering financial aid if they were to join Germany in any U.S. or Germany conflict. If they won the war, Mexico could reclaim Texas, Arizona, and New Mexico. These were lands Mexico had recently lost. This telegram was sent through a British telegram station service and was therefore intercepted and deciphered by British intelligence. This also helped sway American opinion and definitely helped sway Congress when the president asked for war about a month after the interception. The Selective Service Act of 1917 was the first act mandating American military service since the Civil War. In April 1917, before the Act's passage, there were only 110,000 servicemen who could be deployed if America joined the war then raging in Europe. An army of this size would have been destroyed within months, considering the brutal trench warfare employed during the Great War. All told, there were 116,000 American casualties in World War I, more than were in service at the time before war was declared. For this act, there were some different registrations. The first, on June 5, 1917, was for men aged 21 to 31. Congress amended the law in August 1918 and then included all men ages 18 to 45. By the end of World War I, almost 4.8 million Americans had served in the armed forces. A speech known as the 14 Points was developed from a set of diplomatic points by President Wilson and territorial points made by the General Secretary and his peers. The Secretary's draft territorial points were a direct response to the secret treaties of the European allies, which he had been shown by Secretary of War. The Secretary's task, according to House, was to take the secret treaties, analyze the parts which were tolerable, and separate them from those which we regarded as intolerable, and then develop a position which conceded as much to the Allies as it could, but took away the poison. It was all keyed upon the secret treaties. President Wilson declared 14 points which he regarded as the only possible basis of an enduring peace. For these 14 points, Wilson was given the Nobel Peace Prize in 1917. So, to come to a conclusion, here is a reminder of some of the main topics that were discussed in this documentary. President Woodrow Wilson wanted to remain impartial towards the war, but the Great War challenged our nation's neutrality. His speech, known as the 14 Points, was declared by President Wilson as the only possible basis of an enduring peace. The sinking of the Lusitania enraged Americans and hastened the United States' entrance into World War I. The Selective Service Act of 1917 was the first act mandating American military service since the Civil War. In conclusion, while we tried to stay out of the war, many things, like the Zimmermann telegram and Germany's decision to resume unrestricted submarine warfare, caused the United States to join the war, leading to lasting effects on American politics and foreign relations.